Recognize these John Fogerty lyrics?
There's a bathroom on the right.
The real lyrics and the real stories behind them.
Look at me, I can be centerpiece.
VH1 Storytellers. Sunday at 10, 9 Central. Only on VH1.
Well, tambourines and elephants are playing in the band. Won't you take a ride on the flying spoon? Do-do-do, a wondrous apparition provided by magician. Do-do-do, looking out my back door. Well, forward troubles, Illinois, lock the front door, oh boy. Look at all the happy creatures dancing on the lawn. Bother me tomorrow, the day I buy no sorrow. Do-do-do, looking out my back door.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, I'm John Fogerty. Welcome to Storytellers. What this is about is I get to tell you a little bit about some of the songs I've written over the years. That last song I actually wrote for my 3-year-old son back in 1970, and the joy was a few weeks after the record came out, seeing him on the kitchen floor, not knowing I was even there. He was playing with his toys and stuff, and it came out of him. Do, 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 look. And that's really why I did it, and I got paid back. All right, this next song is really the first song that I wrote that you might say amounted to something. I knew at the time, as soon as I finished it, that it was better than anything I'd done before. What had occurred was there was this official-looking envelope sitting on the steps to my apartment house. It said official government business on it. Remember, this is 1968. And I didn't even stop to look at the envelope for a couple days. It sat there on the steps. I figured the government didn't have anything to talk to me about. But after 2 or 3 days, I finally looked close, and it had my name on it. And wow. What it was my honorable discharge from the Army. And this had been sort of an ongoing struggle. And I was very, very happy. Remember, this is 1968. It's the Vietnam era. And I was overjoyed. I didn't even get in the door. I turned around, went out on the little lawn in front of the apartment house, and I did a couple of cartwheels. Then I went right in the house, and I sat down with the guitar, and I wrote this song. All right, this song was the other side of Bad Moon Rising back in those days, and for some reason, even though I was only 23 years old, I could see the other side of stardom, you might say, of fame and glory and riches and glamour and all that stuff that you're not likely to find in Lodi, California. So that's what this song.
Man from the magazine said I was on my way. Somewhere I lost connection, ran out of songs to play. Came into town a one-night stand. Looks like my plan fell through. Oh Lord, stuck in Lodi again. Well, if I only had $1 for every song I sung, every time the band would play, people sat there drawn. You know how to catch the next train where I live. Oh Lord, stuck in Lodi again. Oh Lord, stuck in Lodi again. This next song was drawn also from my life or my childhood. Proud Mary had been a big hit and all that stuff, and we were on our way, but we needed something to follow it up with. In those days, people concentrated more on singles than albums, and I set about trying to create a song or create a story at least. I was on the track already of being kind of a story song type of guy. And I remembered back when I was very young, I'd seen an old black and white movie. It was called The Devil and Daniel Webster. It's kind of an old theme. And he makes a deal with the devil, promising his soul at the end of his life so that the man will have, I guess, power and riches or whatever it is he wanted. And the thing and of course the devil keeps showing up to remind the man, where he's going to end up. And I remember seeing a scene where there was a huge storm, like a hurricane or whatever, and these people are living out in the country. And his neighbor's crops, being a cornfield, are completely smashed down by the storm. They're flat to the ground, but Daniel's field, the corn is 8 feet high, it's standing straight up, and you see a line right down there where the property line is. And that for some reason that stuck in my mind and kind of froze the idea of how can I say it, a epical storm, an event that was larger than us mere mortals anyway. And kind of starting from there, I wrote this song. Well, 1969, 1970 was the height of the Vietnam War. And also, you might say, right the middle of the Nixon administration. You probably guessed from my music anyway, I was not a Republican. I had started to actually feel, I hate to say it, but even though I'm very much an American, I love our country, I think we would all probably say that, I was starting to become ashamed of our government. I felt that the government didn't actually represent me or people like me anymore, and I wrote this song feeling that way. I was going to say that that was a simple little song, but there were a couple of references to real life. Virginia, to me, really meant going down to Washington, D.C., and the tower was the Tower of Babel, which we still are tuned into every now and then. And Crowded Rush Together was actually my reference to Woodstock, because on that day I saw 500,000 people just about the same age as me, all rushing together to listen to a singer and try and keep warm. And for a couple of days there, as you all know who were there, or there in spirit, we boomers had our day for a weekend or so anyway. And that's what was going on in that song. When my band, Creedence Clearwater, was just starting to come up the ladder, we played at a place in San Francisco called the Avalon. It was kind of the competitor of the Fillmore. But we weren't even, you might say, we hadn't even risen high enough to be noticed by the Fillmore yet. So we were the opening act among probably 5 different acts at the Avalon, which meant they all got to do their sound check and go home, and we were the bottom of the totem poles, so we were the very last people to do our sound check, and we were doing it like 10 minutes before they opened the doors and let everybody in. So in other words, we got the least time. We were treated like the idiot cousin from the country, So we were doing our sound check, and
something was going on the stage, and I decided to take this opportunity to try out a song on the band, or more try out a feeling. So I started doing that, and everybody, and I started hitting my swamp chord like that, and I was screaming out these nonsensical vowels. I just kind of, and I was rocking and rolling. I'm going on for about 3 minutes, and finally the sound guy, or the stage manager guy, he just came over and unplugged my guitar. He just said, "You got to stop now, we're going to let the people in." And he says, this was like one of those challenges in life, and he said, "And besides, you guys aren't going anywhere anyway." Yeah, I mean, he really said it, and it was, most people might have taken that and, but I looked at him right in the eye, because I was 22 years old and full of vinegar, and I looked at him and said, "Listen, Buster, you give me 1 year, and then I'll show you." And I stared him down just like Clint Eastwood, It's kind of. When I was very, very young, my parents would take me up to this creek, really. It was called Puda Creek, up by Winters, California. It's a little place in Northern California. And we spent happy summer times there. I think we were really only there for a week at a time, but to a child that seems like a real long time. That place was wonderful. We had dragonflies. I learned to fish there. We had pollywogs. We had a rope hanging from the tree. And this cabin that we stayed in, we actually called it Cody's Cabin, because the camp there, or the little settlement, was owned by this old gentleman. I mean, I was 4 or 5, and he was 75. And do you have any idea what that looks like to a child? This man was ancient, and now that I think back about it, he was. But the story was that, his name was Cody, this old man. And the story was he was a direct descendant of Buffalo Bill. Now, of course, I'm telling you stuff I recall from the age of 4 years old. I have no way of verifying the truth to this, but we called him Cody, and apparently he was a grandson, or even a son, of Buffalo Bill. And if you think about it, if he was born in 1890, 1880, even 1875, he would have been hitting about this age in 1951 or so. So that's the imagery of the song. But another event occurred, which is part of the song too. As I was growing up in El Cerrito, there was a pharmacy up at the end of our street, a drugstore, with a sit-down fountain. You know what those things are. And you could get a cherry cola and, other soda-type drinks. And one of them was called Green River. And what that was this green syrup stuff in a bottle. And it said Green River. And there was a picture of a creek, land on either side, and a sun at the end, very much like Sun Records label used to look. Anyway, I think I was about 8 years old when I first took notice of that label, Green River. And I actually said to myself way back then, boy, that'd be a good name for a song.
Well, up at Cody's camp, I spend my days, y'all. Flat cow riders and cross-tie walkers. Old Cody Jr. took me over, said you're gonna find the world be smoldering. If you get lost, come on home to Green River.
About 1992, I had started working on Blue Moon Swamp, although it wasn't called anything yet. And one day, sitting out by a dirt road out in the country, Southern California, a song just kind of came into my mind. And it was so complete, and it was so vivid, and the sound was so clear. It's one of those things I look back on now, because this song is actually way better than I am. This is one of the 2 or 3 really good songs I've written, and this may be the best one. And I knew that afternoon when I was sitting by the dirt road that the sound had to be as old as the dirt. I mean, that's just the way it felt. I could see those hot afternoons in the Mississippi fields where I had been a few years before. I could still feel how it felt, because it's very humid down there. And when it gets up over 100 degrees in Mississippi, they say your biscuits are bacon. And it took until mid-1996 I heard about these guys, because the singing was such a big part of the feeling the song would give you. And now that we've worked together on the record and on the road and having fun just harmonizing, I must tell you, this is a real treat for me. You will hear what I'm getting at. These guys are a national treasure, and it's just a real, how can I say it? It's a joyful thing for me to sing with them. So here we go. Going way down, Mama, won't you carry me? Sometimes late in the evening, everything is quiet and still. I sit here and think about leaving. Lord, I guess I never will. Heartache down in that city, bright light scares me anyway. Sure like a woman to talk to in this place. It's 110, 110 in the shade, going way down. Mama, won't you carry me? It's 110, 110 in the shade, going way down. Mama, won't you carry me? It's 110, 110 in the shade, going way down. Mama, won't you carry me? It's 110, 110 in the shade, going way down. Mama, won't you carry me? Oh, come on, let's hear it for the Fairfield Four. Come on. Yeah, man. This song is called Joy of My Life. Now, obviously, I didn't write this song about a fishing hole or even a guitar. I met my beautiful wife 10 years ago in Indiana. And first time I saw her, it was like a light was coming out of the sky and shining on her. I actually said to myself at the time, that's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. And I just kind of stopped and stared. We have since had 2 wonderful boys together. You might say they are Joy and Joy Jr. But really, this song is about my darling wife, Julie. I should tell you also that Julie brought a young girl into this family when we started, her daughter Lindsay, and you might say it was a package deal. So we were an instant family when we first got together. And Lindsay, I know you're looking. Love you too, and bless you.
You know, the Blue Moon Swamp album is fantastic. I was talking to you a little bit before the show, and the new songs sound terrific. What was significant about this latest go-round for you is you weren't singing the old stuff for almost 26 years, isn't that right?
That's true. That's
you
right.
just and you had some legal problems, and there were some reasons why you weren't singing it.
Yeah.
And but then I guess it was it Bob? I heard it was Bob Dylan who actually told you you got to start singing some of the old songs again.
Well, yeah, I had gone to a little club in Los Angeles to see Taj Mahal, and Bob Dylan showed up with his friend George Harrison. And one by one, we all got enticed up on the stage, you know, we're playing. And after a while, of course, you know, we're doing old country hits and old blues standards. And finally, somebody talked Bob Dylan into doing one of his songs. And then somebody talked George into doing one of his songs. And it's like everybody's going, well, you know. And I go, I'm not doing any of my old songs, you know, like that. And finally, Bob looks at me kind of, he says, well, John, you know, if you don't start singing Proud Mary, everybody's going to think that's Tina Turner's song. so I did it.
You kicked right into it. A lot of your music, you have this obsession with swamps, right? And you're from Northern California, isn't that right?
Bay Area.
Is there something wrong with your basement? I mean, what got you so into...
As a matter of fact, that's true. When I was, you don't know this part, but when I grew up, my bedroom was in the basement, and it leaked every winter. I actually had to go across the swamp to get to my bed.
So that's where it all came from?
I don't think that's the reason, no. The early music I loved, even rock and roll was pretty southern by nature, pretty swampy when it was born, at least. And, you know, the things before that I loved, meaning country music and blues, were very southern. Guys were always talking about spells and voodoos and hoodoos and John the Conqueror and all this stuff. It just kind of went in and stuck. And
you also went for the sound of, you know, like Born on the Bayou, which you just played us. It's got this swampy sound. You just had that sound in your head and tried to recreate it?
Well, if you're talking about that particular sound, I'd say, to me, that's my version of Pop Staples, who's a very swampy guy.
And we'll leave it at that. Before we go, chugling on down to New Orleans, just what does that mean?
You know what? I don't have the foggiest.
Okay, well, you can't top that. The album, This Man Truly Does Get Better With Time. Blue Moon Swamp is a great album. Go out, buy it. I said so. John Fogerty, we can't thank you enough. You going to play for us?
Yeah.
Again?
I'll play some more.
All right? We'll do that. I do want to thank all my guests. I want to thank Fran Lebowitz for coming here. Thank you so much, Fran. I want to thank Mr. Jim Fowler for being here. And once again, here to play us out, John Fogerty.